Hey everybody, Jim back again for week 3. And this week we're going to talk about thing 6 in the 21 Things for Teachers, and that one is on communication. So, again, one of the nice things that I like about the 21 Things is how quickly they update things. Just last term when I was teaching this one, the synchronous, um, some of the titles they had have changed already since then. So they have some new ones in here. A lot of these in blue, I have got to be honest, I haven't even checked out. Now, Google Meet, it used to be the Google Hangouts. And it's kind of odd that the last time that I taught this, I was actually explaining to the students to not get too hung up on Google Hangouts because they were going to get rid of it. And I guess instead of getting rid of it altogether, they just changed the name of it. So that's nice to know. We use Google Hangouts in our district quite a bit, or Google Meet now, for communication between teachers. So if you need to have, like, my social studies partner, we get sometimes, like, we're reading a novel right now. So halfway through the novel, or halfway through the class, I might type a Google Hangout message to her and say, "Hey, how far did you guys get? Where are you at? What do you plan on doing next?" That kind of stuff. So that's also pretty handy for teacher to teacher contact. I'm sure everyone's heard of Skype, but some of these others may be a little bit new to you. So what they're going to do, they're going to talk about asynchronous and synchronous communication. Asynchronous pretty much just means you're talking at somebody, kind of like what I'm doing right now. You put in the information, you send it out, somebody else listens or reads it or does something to it. And then, of course, synchronous communication, it would be if we were all in a discussion group or something right now, that we could talk back and forth or type back and forth or something like that. So the two different types you might have there. I would have to say that in my K-12 experience, I use a lot more asynchronous. I do it for a lot of things. It's kind of funny now, but maybe not funny, but my students many times will have me in class, and it's not just me, it's all the teachers, but they'll have you in class and then go on to their next class and then email you a question they had in class because they can't bring themselves to ask you face to face. That is something that I've seen in the last 2 or 3 years really pop up. They just can't stand to look you in the face and ask you a question in real life, so they do it in an email. So they do a lot of that, and then I do videos like this for my students as well, and it's great for people who are absent or something like that. Another newer thing that I've started to do is record if I'm doing something that's got a particular amount of examples or explanations in it. I might record the whole thing, and Google now has where it will transcribe everything. So it can be just a transcription. That way they don't have to hear everything that's going on. But you can post that into, like, I posted in a Google Classroom. And then if a student is absent, or even if a student was there and they want to go back and say, okay, what exactly did Mr. Bone say about this? They can go back in and they can read the transcript and see what they may have missed. So I do a lot of asynchronous. Synchronous, I've done a few things where you might have a virtual field trip and you have somebody on the other end who's your tour guide, or even chatting directly with another classroom at some point. Other than that, I don't do a lot of that. I get a little nervous anymore with synchronous if you're doing it for a student. I really recommend that you stay away from any type of communication that's you and the student and nobody else, even if it's digital. I just think it's something we need to stay back from a little bit yet. All right, so what are we going to be doing here? For your assignment down here, I've already opened it up. What you're going to be doing is looking at some of these. They're going to actually go back to thing 1 and look at some of the research strategies for best practice. Make a document, write down an idea for a way that you could enhance a lesson plan with some technology. Go back and find an STE or ISTE standard and that it would address. After that, it says to share your doc with 2 or 3 colleagues. What I'm going to have you do instead is go into a discussion. I've set up a discussion here. Go ahead and write in your idea and then later on, you can go back and comment on a couple other people. It'd be great if we could have the paragraphs themselves done somewhere midweek so that it gives everybody else time to do the commenting and any final write up on it. So if everybody waits until next Saturday night to do this, it's going to be really hard to get everyone going at the same time. So that's kind of where I'm thinking on that. So let's ask you to use one of the resources at that point. If you haven't, is there something you've used? Go ahead and use it. I was thinking that the discussion group would be a good place for you guys to set up some times if you want to use synchronous communication. Maybe you guys could set up a time where 2, 3, 4, 5 of you, all of you, whatever, get on and do a synchronous communication. You could get it all done at one time. But they want you to do some sort of resource using one of those resources. You get your input, write a short reflection on whether you think in the end the technology was going to increase the productivity and successfulness of your lesson. Again, I'm not looking for things that are highly technical. I know you guys haven't been into a classroom as far as teaching it yet. So again, we're in fantasy land here. You're going to pretend in your mind, what does it look like to incorporate technology into the classroom? How could you incorporate technology into a typical lesson that you might teach in the class of your dreams? And then talk about it with somebody else here in the discussion group. And also, when you get done with the whole thing, back to home here slowly. Module 3 does have a spot for you to actually upload the final file when you type your reflection piece. Just upload it here into the module 3, and you should be all set with that. And I've put 25 points on each part this week, and usually they're a 50-point assignment. So I'm just giving you 25 for doing the discussion and 25 for doing the final write-up. It sounds like there's a lot of things to do, but really it's not a whole lot. You're poking around in some of these ideas here, chatting with a couple people, writing up how you could use that to enhance an assignment that might be in your group. Now, again, I know a lot of you guys are phys ed, and sometimes I think in the past when I've had people who are physical education teachers, they will use this asynchronous stuff to do everything from explaining rules of a game, explaining a physical exercise they want you to do, showing a video of, I've seen them even things like how to properly shoot a jump shot. I mean, all kinds of stuff that you can do for phys ed. I know that in some of your write-ups, you didn't think that technology would be the biggest thing, but think about in a world where it might be nice if you, for each week or whatever, the day before, you expect the students to look at your Google Classroom and look at a video, so when they come into class, they have some kind of idea of what's going on and how to do what you're doing. Because realistically, you may be in a class in a gymnasium with 60 kids in there. This is happening more and more often. They double up classes for phys ed. And so imagine trying to give direction to 60 students in an echoey gym versus having them all at least have a little bit of an idea what's going on because they've looked at the video ahead of time. So there's just some ideas for those of you who are in phys ed to not give up on or not to give up on technology altogether. If you have any questions, keep asking, keep emailing, whatever it is you need to do. Give me some asynchronous communication if you need something, and I will see you next week.